Hello, hello everyone.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us once again today. This is EA Live, and we are streaming live for all of you wherever you're in the world. We already have a couple of people coming in. Flor, how are you doing today?
Hi, Paolo. I'm doing great. And I'm also in Buenos Aires, like you are.
Yeah.
So we're streaming from Argentina to the whole community in English because yesterday we were in Webflow Café, which is in Spanish, and today we switch to English.
The mental math is tricky. Chatting in Slack in Spanish and then just going into English. Sometimes it gets tricky, but here we are, and we're doing it. And again, thanks everyone for joining us. I am Pablo, like Flor said. I am based in Argentina. I'm a Webflow developer here at Edgar Allan. Flor is a PM here at Edgar Allan. We both of us also work on the community and of Edgar Allan. We work on the Webflow Café, which is our community in Spanish, and on EA Live, which are these streams that we do every week, every Thursday. So yeah, just wanted to remind you that we are on Twitter. We are at Edgar Allan Co, where you can follow us and you can, make sure you are aware of all the content that's coming every week, and also other news that we share through our Twitter, and also you can subscribe if you're here in this stream. You're on YouTube, so there's like that little red or gray, I don't know what's the color now, the subscribe button in YouTube. So just please subscribe to the channel, so you're always updated on the content that's coming out. We always try to put up the stream 2 days before, so you can set up a notification and organize your day around the stream. I guess that's it, right, Flor, on the short intro.
Yeah, it is. So we have a second episode today. We're doing a series about letter run, and today we have. Do you want to make the introductions?
Yeah,
Uh,
of
t-
course.
yeah, go ahead.
I can go ahead. Yeah. So today our episode is a listening party with Casey. So like Flor said, we're doing this series on Letter Run, which is what do we call it? An experience, a game, product, 3D immersive website that EA released. A couple of maybe a month ago already. It won an award, right, at the Webflow Conf earlier. In November. So we are meeting with KC Katalbas. She was the creator of the music for Letter Run. So we're gonna be chatting with her about her process. We're gonna be chatting with Mason about like what was the initial inspiration to make this experience with music, and how he got in touch with Casey, and also with Witt. He is also from our Edgar Allan team, and he really worked through the process with Casey on how to implement the music on the Letter Run project. But before we do that, I do want to let you know that this Letter Run series is gonna keep going. So next week we have an episode on 3D and how we build this experience, the 3D portion of this experience. Which if you haven't seen it yet, we have it here, and we're gonna jump in a minute into the actual experience and talk through it with our guests. So yeah, it's a really cool experience. You can see it at, is it letter run.webflow.io. So shall we bring them in, Flor?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it. Let's remove the screen from the stream, and here we got Casey. Hello, Witt, and Mason. Here we all are.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining. Good morning. Good morning. So today we're talking about Letter Run and the music behind it, right? So I don't know, Mason or Witt, if you all want to do a brief intro on KC and tell us how you met her, and maybe get to know her a bit more.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, Witt, Casey, and Pablo Fuencia, great to have everyone here. Casey and I were able to meet at the State of Flow conference in Florida, St. Petersburg, back in, I don't know when it was. And yeah, so and then just, also Twitter, like that's kind of where all the magic happens for now, hopefully continuing. And, I think that I just really, I think KC is a incredibly nice person, but more than that, just like so wildly talented. I was first just seeing kind of some of the stuff that she was doing on YouTube for within her Webflow work. There was a dating app for fish that she kind of did, and it was really amazing. And then just other kind of different experiments. So yeah, but then outside of that, I was like, oh my gosh, just a really incredible musician. And the music for Let Her Run is, we started to think about it. It was, it was like one of the last big hurdles for us to accomplish. And, Witt, you and I had gone back and forth on a few different things, and we had some kind of like inspiration tracks in there that we'll get to in just a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of how I met KC. And then Witt, I've known for maybe 15 years now, something along those lines. We met at a place called Portfolio Center. But yeah, so KC, I'd love to, let you kind of introduce yourself, talk a bit about what you've been working on, and then, yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so I also just met Mason at State of Flow. I've been a Webflow developer for about a year, and before that have been freelancing for about 2 years. But before any of that, I've been doing music since I could sing. I did a lot of choir and like theater as a kid, and then started songwriting in like my teens. And, that was one of the things that brought me to the city I am now, which is Nashville. And that's one of the things that Mason and I originally connected on, because I've lived in Nashville 7 years, and Mason grew up in Nashville, which, if you don't know, is Music City. It's a lot of music happening in Nashville, Tennessee. So that's one of the reasons I love being here. I love writing music, but I'm also a very technical person, which is is one of the things that brought me to web development and to Webflow. I love science too, and I love sort of the merging of those two things. But I also love to have fun. So Let Her Run was like a really fun project to bring all of those things together, like bring in joy and bring in like technical things, but also just bring in like art and music and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how I am here now.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think that you did a great job of starting to channel like a lot of those ideas, and because we had some sort of weird ideas around just like what does a like a library sound like, or what's the bass track and things like that. I was curious, I like kind of before this, I was going into some of your YouTubes, and I was wondering, like, when did you first start YouTubing? Like how old were you when that kind of channel spun up? Because it's it's like this warm hug of YouTube. Like the comments are amazing, like your content is amazing, like you've built an amazing audience there. When did you start?
That's a great question. My friends always joke with me that like my YouTube comment section is the kindest place on YouTube.
It really is.
Historically not. But yeah, I started YouTube in, I want to say like 2010, like really early. I was very just struck by a lot of like early YouTube communities, like Zay Frank, the Vlog Brothers. Five Awesome Girls was like a really old one that I loved, but was just really interested in like those communities that were being built. And also at the same time, saw a lot of like young artists and like singer-songwriters starting on YouTube. And that was sort of around the same time I was learning guitar and learning how to play things. And so I kind of made my own YouTube channel in 2013 and just saw it as a way to make friends, because I was a really introverted person, but I found it really easy to be in front of a camera and just like talk to people that way. So that's kind of how I started, just by wanting to make friends as, a 14-year-old, and finding YouTube as a way to do that, and art and music as a way to connect with other people that way. It's been really cool to still be here on YouTube in some capacity, because I've seen a lot of those people just like grow in their music and continue to do it.
There's
awesome.
a lot of like your oldest video is 10 years old. So that's a lot. And you know, prepping for this, I've been watching a lot of that, and it's like well, and I heard your interview on the Great Design Lead podcast, and it's just incredible to the whole thing about like the comment section that Mason mentioned, right? Everyone is so nice, and it's just wholesome, right? And you don't get a lot of that in YouTube, I think, and it's incredible how you, and this, I mean this in the best way, you're not trying hard to be anything, you know, you're just yourself, which is just absolutely felt through your videos. And yeah, it makes you want to like be your friend, which just is incredible that you can, you know, have that go through like a camera, right, in a video, where people are always trying to be like, hey, like and subscribe and blah blah blah, you know, and you're just, and I do that, like I have my own YouTube, and I, you know, I do that, and when I look at yourself, I'm like, yeah, that's, I think that's a better way to just be yourself and not try to get people hooked, you know what I mean? Which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube has changed a ton in, you know, the last 10 years, but I think the people who are usually the most successful are the people who are coming from a place of just like wanting to hang out and do good things for other people. So I've tried to continue that strain of it throughout the last 10 years.
That's awesome. And it's funny, like going back, and we won't spend too much time on your YouTube or whatever, but it is really, it's a huge accomplishment. And it was just wild seeing like YouTubes of you much younger, but still like your core personality is like the exact same, in the best way, you know. And I know like your kind of songwriting has evolved and things along those lines, but just a lot of like your personality and things along those lines, as Pablo was saying, is like very, very true. And so it's really awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, we were actually talking right before the stream started about like, you know, I have left, you know, those videos from 14-year-old me on YouTube, and I should probably take them down from like a logical perspective, but I think having them there is still good in some capacity because it is still me, and the level of cringe isn't too much. It's like the right, it's my tolerance level of cringe, but you know, I know like 14-year-olds now will watch that and be like, oh my gosh, here's a 14-year-old from 10 years ago, and they're the exact same level as dorky as me. So that's the reason I leave it up.
This this song is one of my favorites. So everyone should go check that one out.
The song is about like my theater crush from 2013 theater camp.
Oh man,
fun facts.
That's amazing. Yeah, what I really respect is just the self-acceptance, which is hard to kind of listen to yourself sometimes, especially going back and listening to, you know, younger KC and thinking about like, you know, where you are now versus like, you know, having a theater crush and doing silly like, you know, 14-year-old stuff. But it's like really, you know, it's like that's I think where we all come from, and so I just wanted to like call it out and say that it's awesome, and I have a huge amount of respect for just like your approach there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mason, and thanks Pablo for bringing it up.
But we also have a Witt here, and I do want to kind of spotlight you, Witt. Hi.
Hey,
what's up? Don't know you. Thanks for joining us today. Well, who are you, and why are you here?
Those are great questions. I was so like Mason said, he and I've known each other for at least 15 years at this point. He was actually my instructor in grad school, and way back in the days of Flash, we had a class that he taught that was the deliverable was building a video game, which I'd never really done apart from some text-based basic programming stuff back in the like late 80s, early 90s. So it was one of my favorite things I got to work on there. And he's helped me in, so many ways as I've come through school and gotten out of school and started working. And so I I don't know. It's been really cool to get to work together in an official capacity again after all these years, and then to have the opportunity to do a video game together. A little small video game, but still like a game, something that was along the same lines as what we did together all those years ago, has just been awesome.
And it's crazy to think that was like, this was like an intro to Flash class, and we just like jumped right in it, and we're like, we're going to make a video game, which is totally ridiculous.
It was so hard.
But everyone did such an amazing job, and I've, obviously learned a whole lot, and some of them were more successful than others. But even KC, for one of your first Webflow projects of Tender for Fish, right? So swipe left, swipe right, like kind of an unusual application for Webflow and Webflow collections and stuff along those lines. But then you start to think about things a little bit differently and be able to bring that to your work. Well, Witt, thanks for joining. I know you are typically behind the scenes and don't actually like to be so much like out there on camera, but I think we've got a lot to be able to talk about.
That's actually not true. I don't mind it at all. I just don't do it very much. Yeah.
Well, I know that, for full context, like we started working on Let Her Run about a year ago, actually right at a year ago. And, it was about this time that you were starting to get into Blender. And I think one of the first things we made was a spinning cube with like the Edgar Allan logo kind of like in there. And then, it was kind of in combination to this thing of we were like, what if we had the Edgar Allan letter form and then like did something. It felt sort of like the Among Us game. I don't know if you guys have played Among Us, but it sort of felt a little bit like Among Us. We had a lot of trials and tribulations over the course of that year. If you had told me a year ago that it was going to take a year, I don't think that I would do it again. Maybe I would. It was a lot of learnings, but there was a lot of flailings as well. I'm going to go on the Webflow podcast tomorrow and talk about all of our flailings. And just like some mornings felt like Christmas, and then some mornings just felt like, oh my gosh, this thing is all going to crash and burn. And it was all for nothing. That was a big part of it. But the music actually came together incredibly well, and so that's what we're going to talk about today. I did want to kind of open up and say that the core track, and Witt, you put this together, was based on a song by Brian Eno, Music for Airports. And Brian Eno is, he's been a producer. He's actually more famous for being a producer. He produced like, what was it? Like Joshua Tree by YouTube. You just like go through and not YouTube, U2, the band. But just really like his discography or like what he's worked on is really impressive. But this one particular track, it's always sort of struck me, and I don't know what's the best way to kind of like listen to a couple bars of that, Pablo, and then we can get into the game itself. We're gonna try to do the multiplayer version of the Edgar Allan game. So we'll walk around, we'll go to the different rooms, and just start to unpack those tracks. So started off with this sort of core track, sent that over to Witt, and we'd had some stuff before that. We were playing around, and it was just like, it's how to have something that doesn't feel too aggressive, but then also, starts to carry the feeling of the game. So there's a couple things where we bounced around on, and then just like ignored the music for a long time because we had other stuff where we were just like, is this thing going to even work? That was a really big question. But then once we were able to get this sort of core track, I think that's where we were.
Can you all hear this if I do this?
Yeah.
There we go. Yep.
I also just want to point out that, and I don't know if you remember this, but Mason, in that Flash class that we built the smart car launch game, we also did a project that was around music for airports.
I have like 3 tricks. I'm like a jazz.
No, man. I mean, it's a fantastic song, but I loved that it's been a continuous thread through all of this. For me and you.
So, and essentially, you said, Mason, when we were chatting about this in private, you mentioned that you wanted something that it is inspired the idea of something that you can kind of hop in and out of, right? Like there's no set structure to the music in a way where like the track ends here, starts here, ends here, and that was sort of the inspiration you drew from this music for airports, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of these things that's like, it's really contemplative, and it almost it has the structure of something that's mathematical but random, at the same time. Like it was built with tape loops. So Brian Eno going in and recording these individual instruments and then chopping them up into mathematical increments and then looping those manually. When he was creating this, again, music for airports. Also, if you're in an airport, it's a 17-minute track. It is awesome to listen to, and it will just put you in like a mood. You'll just feel like you're on another planet type of thing. And but the idea is that if interruptions from gate changes and things along those lines were to happen, that it would actually kind of like go along with the core track, and that you could kind of jump in and jump out of that. And yeah, there's these parts where it's really subtle in terms of, and I don't know anything about music. I grew up in Nashville, but like I can't play an instrument. I know nothing about sort of the mathematical side, but I'm a big I love to I have a big appreciation for it. So yeah, but this is one of the places where we started. And yeah, Witt went through and put together this sort of like bass track, but then KC really like took that and expanded upon it. So I'd love to be able to jump
Let's
down
go into
let's
Letterrun.
jump into
Yeah.
Letterrun. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump into the multiplayer demo
Yep.
for Letterrun, which if anyone in the stream wants to hop on, it's letter-run.webflow.io/multiplayer-demo. Hopefully we don't break it, but if it starts breaking, I'll just go into the solo mode, and so that we can keep listening to the music. And yeah, so I'm gonna again jump in and start playing with audio. Hopefully everyone can hear that. And the idea here is, as we listen to the bass track, we can just hop into each of the rooms, and the idea here is that each of the letters is a room that has a specific track for it, and we can just hear those tracks, listen to those tracks, and maybe KC or Witt can kind of tell us what was the thought behind it. So let's hear the E.
Yeah, so this first room, just to speak on it a little bit, and just to speak on everything, in approaching this, I did really want to keep, like Mason said, that you can still kind of do stuff or listen to other things while also listening to this. But in kind of taking things into each of the rooms, we really wanted to create sound that feels like the room. So like what sound feels like an office. And for me, it was something sort of ambient, but throughout at least this room, you can kind of hear like touches of other sounds. So there's like some keyboard. There's some of me like writing down on a pencil at my desk or like circling things with a marker. So just sort of touches of things there, but having the general calm focus vibes was the core of this room.
That's awesome. Also, I was just jumping into multiplayer. I don't think it's working right now, so I didn't see anyone, but it's fine. You can just keep rolling around. Casey, I'd love to go into the cafe. So Pablo, if you want to walk down to the A over here. Yeah, there we go. And also just big shout out here, Webflow Cafe here on the wall.
One thing I want to just make sure, like, to point out is like when we handed this over to KC, we had like a scratch track basically, and just some, like Mason was saying, some ideas. KC has such a great, not just sense for music, but also just for like establishing place through sound, which was one of the things that I think really made all these things work, as far as kind of establishing, you know, hey, we're in a cafe. What does it sound like when you're in a cafe? And I think, and you can talk more about exactly how you went about capturing that stuff, but it was one of the easiest things to give creative feedback on, because the first stuff that she sent over was just great.
Yeah, it was basically like, awesome. Let's keep rolling. Like,
yeah.
This music is so good. I'm thinking I'm gonna have this in the as a backtrack of every stream that we do. It's like so relaxing. I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun to do. I mean, some of the rooms were really like cut and dry. Like for Webflow Cafe, I went to my favorite coffee shop in town and just recorded what it sounded like before I ordered. So you can hear what's going on, conversations, other things like that were also pretty standard. Like at the park, there's like an outside room, just recorded what it sounded like at the park. There were other ones where it was like, what does this exactly sound like? Like,
what does space sound like? How do we call this room?
So my background before web development was in a planetarium, so this was the room I was most excited about because it's music that I have written before. And also like space music you can talk over, because when I was doing planetarium programs, like music you can talk over.
You're allowed to go here also.
But yeah, I think Witt was the one who was like, oh, what if we had like, I forget what it's called, Witt, like the NASA.
Oh yeah, the Kindar tones.
The Kindar tones. So that's the
Yeah.
little beep before you hear them talking.
Houston traffic with a test 1.
There's a spiritualized song that's one of my favorite
Roger,
tracks
here
ever,
also.
and they make use of it as almost like a percussive element, and it's so nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, it just feels like you're out there. So, and I think you used it really well here. So.
And is that a moon or a banana?
Banana moon.
Banana moon.
Up to you. Whatever you want it to be.
What's next?
Well, I think just one thing to call out about from a technical standpoint is that each one of these tracks is only 30 seconds long. So trying to have something that's going to be interesting, but not too repetitive, just enough so that there's like some variation in there. And how did this end up working, Witt? When you go into a room, are all these tracks playing at once, or do they trigger? Like what's happening there?
So where we started was actually each room had its own sound completely, and where we actually landed was that we were trying to do something, because the Eno thing is more generative, and it's like things kind of build on themselves and all that. And like you're saying, you kind of come in and out whenever. But so we used React Howler to actually be the player for this. The way that it works now, after we got KC's tracks, we just set it up to where as you enter the room, it'll fade down the world music, which is just a 2-note alternating bass line. And then it would fade up her track. But so the 2-note bass line is still there, but just lower. Her track comes to the forefront, and then as you exit the room, it flips. So it was that was pretty fun to work on. And Ben, who was involved in this for a while, particularly early on, was really, really instrumental in kind of getting that stuff set up.
That's awesome. Pablo, if you go back to the office there, just wanted to talk about that with you, KC, because I feel like that was one of the ones where your like tone really came through. Oh, bedroom. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, the way you use your voice as the instrument here abstractly, it's honestly one of my favorite rooms in the whole thing.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, that's something I do just like in general songwriting production, because I'm not very good at any other instruments except singing. Like I can play guitar and I can noodle on piano, but mostly I just know how to do harmonies. So I wanted to pull that in probably the most intimate room, like most calm room, and I think it really worked for this one.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, thinking about just you know, as you said, sort of the intimacy there, and that, you know, kind of just the noodling and kind of coming towards ideas and things along those lines within a harmony. Let's go to the outdoor room, the bunny room here. I think this was one of those where you just went out into the world, if I'm correct, and got like some park sounds.
And
You know, one of the
thing to
big
mention, sorry,
go for it, Pablo.
cut you out. It's that all these stairs are not actually here. And someone doesn't know the mechanic of letter run. It's sort of scavenger hunt where you need to go to each room and find an item within each room, and that gives you the stair to get out of the room. Right now it's all completed because I played enough with it. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that sort of scavenger hunt aspect of letter run.
Well, in this way, you haven't given away any spoilers, you know, so people still have to go in and find everything to figure out how to get the stairs.
That's right.
To play. So Casey, on this one, I know you went. You've got like sort of a little recorder. I don't know if we're actually hearing the outdoor sound, but talk to me about that.
Yeah, so for about half of these rooms, I just took a little handheld recorder and kind of played around with just what different sounds would sound like. So I did that with the cafe. I did that with this room, and also with the animal room too. But for this, so in one of the rooms later on, the little pet room, I knew that I really wanted to get so this actually isn't my cat. I would love a cat, but my neighbors have 3 cats and they love me. So I lured her in with some cat treats and got her to say some words for me, which was really sweet. This is Stella. It's really sweet that she made the cut. But yeah, it was fun to do. And with the outside room that we were just looking at, I just walked over to my local park on a farmer's market day where kids were playing. One of my favorite things, if you're in this track, you can hear some dads I was next to just like doing dad talk, which was just very like wholesome to be around. And I think there's like some swings and kids yelling, a little bit of cricket background too, and trees. It was really windy, so just the outside feeling.
That's awesome. Yeah, maybe we'll run over to the cat room, which I believe is the pet room, and I can't remember what letter that is. Maybe it's an L. Is that right?
I think it's the second A.
Is that maybe? Oh yeah, it's the second A. Yep, there we go.
There you go.
And kudos to you for getting cats to perform on cue. They are not.
It took like 4 tries. There's like 4 different versions of that video of me with different cats who just like wouldn't talk to me.
And obviously, I tried to get some sounds from my rabbits, but they do not perform. Yeah.
There we go.
Go.
There's a cat and there's a dog, and the dog is a friend of mine's dog. And I was like, can you just record your dog like making dog sounds?
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing, Casey? What's up with you?
It was like, you know, like sniffing and stuff. And she's like, I guess. Yeah. She had a really funny one, and I just had to throw it in there. So I thought it was awesome. a good fun one.
I know one of the rooms that we had struggled with was the gallery back there. So if you go over to the gallery, also maybe, what is this? Might not be working in multiplayer version. Yeah, we can go in the gallery here, and then we can always try to refresh here and go back.
I can go to the solo version if you prefer.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We can always just walk back over. But in gallery, you know, it's like a question of just like, what does the gallery sound like? Another example of when you, I think, recorded some footsteps and just general kind of like mulling about. And so trying to get mulling. Oh, hey, we got the rocket back. So yeah, here we go, back in the gallery. We'll see what we hear here.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, so having just like footsteps in this one, it's kind of hard to pin down what a gallery sounds like. But another thing with each of these rooms is I wanted to like choose instruments in addition to sort of that bass track that felt like they would be in the room. So, you know, like the guitar is sort of in the bedroom. With the gallery, I thought it felt more natural to just have a piano because I would expect that in an art gallery. So having that sort of combination over all the tracks was the idea.
Awesome.
This one I was really stoked with how it came out because it was tough. It's like, what does a gallery sound like? You know, it's quiet.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah. So how do you capture it? But again, nailed it. So
Yeah, it's the gallery is simply just people whispering and walking around. There's not much else. Yeah, this one is really good, and I think we maybe we're on that multiplayer and some of the audio wasn't playing. So let's jump in the outdoor. There we go.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's the dad
talking. Yeah.
One thing that I did when you were sending these tracks over is I would just sit here and play them, and I would just sit back in my chair and close my eyes and just take it in. And it was just so easy to kind of like fall into. And then you open your eyes, you know, then I would open my eyes and look at where it was. It's like, oh yeah, just peanut butter and jelly.
I love the little rabbits, the EA rabbits here.
Me too. It's so cute.
So cute. So cute. And I'm curious about the pool party situation and the music here. I don't know the names of the rooms, or I wasn't part of the project. So you all gotta let me know. What's the?
It's the pool room, like you're right.
The pool party. I don't know. Yeah.
This is my favorite room. I love that he goes in the water.
The physics in this one are really fun too.
It took us like a month to get the physics to work, and which is so. And then like by the time we got it to work, we're like, oh, I'd love to have physics to the rest of the board, but then we had baked everything together.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like you can run into it and it will behave. So yeah, it's really fun. It's like an extra game within the game.
Yeah. I'll sunbathe down here. So what did you do here, Casey? You just went and recorded just water?
Yeah. A little bit of water. I think I pulled a sound bite from something else. But just layering them on top of each other. Just water moving around sounds, and then having a little bit of uke over it to give it that. There's palm trees. Felt like the uke was correct for this one.
This room was inspired by something that Chesley, who's our design director, often says, which is everyone in the pool. So we thought, like, wouldn't it be fun to have a pool in our little world here? So let's see what next. Yeah, let's head up to the library. We'll save the disco room.
Is fun too. Yeah.
Ooh, we got a sneak peek there.
Oh yeah, if you get close, it'll start to trigger. I guess maybe go into the. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So Casey, I know you said that you do a lot of work with just kind of guitar and voice. How was this? Because this is like not something you typically write.
No. This was just like, how can I have the most fun with all of the synths that Logic has, which is what I produce this year. So it was just fun to play around with it. Something my friends and I used to do in college was just like make weird fake songs or do weird fake mashups. Somewhere on the internet, a thing I like to play every year at Thanksgiving that just passed is my friend wrote like a whole EP for Thanksgiving music, because you know there's so much Christmas music, but there's no Thanksgiving music. And it all kind of sounds like that, like weird bops and stuff. So I consulted him for how do I make just a silly bop that's very short and repetitive. So that was fun to do.
That's really cool. Yeah, I would love to hear this Thanksgiving album because it's funny. It's funny that Thanksgiving kind of made it through as a holiday because Americans are not very good at being thankful. We're really good at wanting things, and maybe it's why there's not as much Thanksgiving music out there. But I think it's one of the things that it's so important just to be able to say thanks. And last week our Thanksgiving episode was awesome to have so many people on to just say what they were thankful for, and a lot of the themes were just around the community and for other people in the community.
Shall we visit the library?
Yeah, let's visit the library.
Here we go.
Yeah, so this one was another one that was kind of tough for me to figure out because I don't this room should be so quiet, like the same thing with the gallery. It's like, how do you capture a quiet calm? So just having sort of the textures of the library, so paper, little library cart going by, also the thing of footsteps, but wanted it to feel close, like the books are close to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And when you're doing these tracks, are you for the tough ones? Are you making 6, 7 different drastically different ideas, and then kind of seeing how they feel, or what's your process to tackling a track that you really don't know how to do?
Sure. So one of the main things I did as I was making the music for this was just having Let Her Run open with the sound off, and then just playing keyboard, different things in the room over the bass track, just to see what felt natural, with a lot of different instruments. So oftentimes the melody I would find one I liked, but then would have to figure out okay, what instrument feels correct for this room. So that was the main thing, and then sort of moving things around so it didn't feel too on beat for anything, that it felt really sort of natural and something you could put in the background and talk over, do things over.
And the Foley is one of the things that I think just really makes it between the sort of actual instruments and then across all the rooms, actual instruments and then that world environment.
And I think you really kind of nailed the not even feeling like music, which kind of going back to what you were talking about, Mason, the music for airports, right? It's more ambient, and you can hear, of course, either a keyboard or a guitar or whatever it is, but it's mixed in so well with the actual sort of ambient noise of each of the rooms that it doesn't feel like music, but in a good way, right? It really feels like you're there, and the guitar is just something that you would naturally hear there, which of course, if you go into a library, you wouldn't have a keyboard playing in the back, but it totally feels like it belongs to that place.
And it starts to get into the I've had a radio show in college called Audio Topography. It was an ambient show, so that's super nerdy of me. But it gets into the idea of what is music, and just music is about trying to bring through a feeling as opposed to just chorus, something that's always very approachable. And yeah, Casey, I think you did an amazing job of kind of going along with us on this journey of, I was when I sent over some of the tracks, I was I don't know what, I mean, we've talked a little bit, but music is so personal, and trying to have something where, and again, I don't know how to direct music. I can give feedback on it's oh, what's this web app need to do, or things like that. Trying to direct music is a whole other world.
That dog always gets.
I love the dog. I love it.
Oh man, that's so good. And so Casey, this is your first music score per se. Have you ever done this before?
Yeah, I have never done this before, and I was really honored that Mason asked me to do it because, for the music stuff, it's usually just happens at the end after all the hard stuff has happened, and so it was fun to just like have a thing and be able to run with it and kind of define just the feeling for each of these rooms through the sound. So I was super glad to do it. It was so fun, and really got to kind of try out some new things production wise that I hadn't done before.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I don't know, Witt or Flo or Mason, if you have any kind of extra questions or things you want to ask from
The only
Casey.
thing I wanted to point out was that every time the dog makes the sound in the pet room, my dog was like, so authentic.
It's legit.
Like it's very legit. It's very real, and even the animals agree. So
Love it.
Yeah, one of the things that I did when the music came out was just to, I know the game is letter run, but it sort of became a letter stay because I would just stay in one room and just play it over and over, because especially the pool one is so relaxing with the water, and you can just leave it there for a couple hours and it makes you company. So that was one of the things that I found myself doing, because the music is so relaxing. It doesn't rush you. It's there, and I thought it was you really captured that about the game, because it's not about rushing, just enjoying the environment and enjoying the moment and just staying there. So that was I think one of my favorite things to do, just to hang out at the game and listen to the music.
I guess what we're all saying is you should make Music for Airports Volume 2 and just release that.
I think one thing I would add is that if anybody is ever looking for somebody to help them score anything like this, movie, game, whatever, that KC, like you were just great to work with, and what we got was amazing, and so I would just highly recommend it.
And where can we find you, Casey, then, if people are interested?
Yeah,
have
totally.
Some links, something to share? Find more of your music. It's more of your embarrassing 14-year-old video.
Yeah, so all of my links and everything you can find at my personal website, which is KC Katalbas, just my name.com. I'm also pretty easily Googleable. My name is just KC Katalbas. I think there's maybe one other, but luckily I've got the top rank for KC Katalbas out there.
Nice work on the SEO.
I know. So you can, find my music on Spotify, on YouTube, just by searching my name, wherever else you listen or stream music. You can also contact me at that same website link. And for all my Webflow work, you can find me there too, or just kckat.com. But yeah.
And you've got some audio, or you've got some YouTube streams that you're planning. I was seeing that on Twitter. What do you have planned?
Yeah, so having some stuff planned more in the Webflow space, just to do some more tutorials there. So doing some videos about logic, and also just how people really like making calculators. So I've got some things about that coming out. And then in this next year, I've been doing a lot of writing. So I'll be doing a lot of recording for an album coming out. So that's kind of what's on the horizon.
Amazing. Well, thanks for joining us today. And again, it's been such a fun project. So I look forward to having another project to work on with you, and maybe in the Webflow space, maybe in the audio space. But either way, it's just great to have you join us on this.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It was such a joy to be able to work on this with you all.
Also, I wanted to give a shout out to Nelson, who I believe that it was a stream with you and Nelson, which is how I originally discovered you before State of Flow. And so it's really cool that you were able to jump on there and do that as well. So, but Pablo, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, of course. So thanks again, Casey. Witt, thanks for joining us today. And Mason, we're always hanging out here. And just to close out the stream, I wanted to say that we are, as always, doing this every week on Thursdays. And next week we have an episode continuing on Letter Run. So we're going to be talking about, now that you've seen it already, and if you hadn't seen it before, we're going to be talking about how we did those 3D objects. There's going to be a bit of technical talk likely there, how those were designed and how were those actually put on the page and on the experience. So we're going to be talking a lot about 3D on the web next week. So really look ahead for that one. And like always, we're on Twitter, Edgar Allan Co, or you can subscribe here on YouTube to see those upcoming streams. And we have some content for 2023 already coming up. We're going to talk about 3D, but this time printing too, right, Mason? We're gonna early next year. We're looking to talk about 3D printing, NFTs. Probably, we're gonna talk about how we do project management here at EA. I know Mason, you want to talk about that too. So there's a lot of great stuff coming up in the next couple of months. So make sure you see. Casey, I'm doing the thing. I'm saying like and subscribe, but that's what we gotta do. That's the business here.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. And with that, I guess we are through. Again, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you on the next stream. Bye bye.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks
y'all.
everybody. Talk to you later. And bye.
Bye.
Bye.